an earlier term card that earlier in our term card we had the privilege of hearing from Pamela Roberts, who is also with us today, the author of Black Oxford, and she traced the history of the first Africans to study here at this institution, and the first African was Christian Frederick Cole, a Sierra Leonean, in 1870. But 1958 is certainly the first time that an organization or society was established to represent the community of Africans here in Oxford. We as the committee saw it as an opportune time, being the 60th anniversary, to firstly, and if I'm candid, invite some sort of financial generosity from our members and accrue some funds for the society to do the crowdfunding campaign that we are currently running. Regrettably, perhaps we are over-ambitious with that, given how the campaign has gone, but the campaign is still open, so if you'd like to donate, please do so. But principally and most importantly, we saw it as an opportunity for us to celebrate Africa in Oxford, but also to reflect of those who have gone before by us here, especially on the continent, and this is if the contributions of those who have gone before us are anything to go by. The photo exhibition that you may have seen outside the corridor is a powerful graphic demonstration of the society being on the cusp of its 60th year, and a demonstration that it has evolved and grown from one that was dominated by the Lord Halesburys of the past, who saw Africa as a problem that required a Western remedy, and a society that was predominantly known for the amazing box that it had thrown, as well as its food nights. Many aspects of our society have changed since. Africa remains with many problems, yes, but we as a society also amplify its possibilities and indeed the opportunities that exist on the continent. We seek to explore what we can contribute while in this somewhat academic exile here on this island through our annual Oxford Africa Conference, which we just concluded 2 weeks ago, as a primary vehicle that drives us in realizing this. We also find that we can galvanize around a commitment to the continent by those who are from Africa and those who are interested in Africa for the progress of Africa while here in Oxford. The photo exhibition certainly demonstrates that much has changed in terms of the composition, the mandate, the vision, the purpose of our society, but certain things have remained constant, and the Afro-box are still the best in Oxford, and the food exchanges still exist, although they have sometimes descended into jollof wars. This Diamond Jubilee is an opportune time for us to take stock through the lens of Pan Africanism, which is our running theme for this conference, which is an ever-enduring prism through which we can engage and exchange with one another. We also saw it as an opportune time to come together with the African Studies Center, given that the center was established only in the mid-2000s, but much of the foundational work for the establishment of the African Studies Center was certainly the presence of the African society. The same vein, we also recognize that there's mushrooming of interest, if you want, within the university as it relates to Oxford, and also appreciate the initiative, as the Africa Oxford Initiative that was recently established to build collaborations between African researchers, academics, and so forth, and Oxford. I will now hand over to the brainchild really of the 60th anniversary, our Secretary General Kemi Tope, who has been heading together with a committee every aspect of putting together this conference, and perhaps without prematurely sounding the trumpet of success, I think they've done an excellent job in terms of the speakers who will be here, the programming, the material that they've been able to gather together and arrange for our engagement and Temi will introduce the 60th anniversary, our program for today, and guide us through the afternoon. And I'm grateful for your attention and thank you very much for being here with us today.
Hello. So before I speak, we need there's more music. So Johnny and Kristen will play this for us.
Hello, everybody. Too close. My name is Ngoni. This is Kristen. I'm from Zimbabwe. Today I'll be playing the Mbira with vocals from Kristen. We are playing a song named Wanto. That's a Shona word for war, or you can translate it to struggle. And I think it's a fitting song for this event because we are here partly because of the struggles we've had to go through as the African continent, as the society here at Oxford. So enjoy. I think we are going to distrust the technology and go across the world.
we have to tweak the program because unfortunately Kristen is leaving soon. But I believe Ingoni will be back after the tea break. So mine are just a few notes of welcome and thank you because there are many people I feel the obligation to thank for the opportunity of hosting this event today. So I started working on events related to this anniversary back in September 2017. Then I thought I would just do a few introspectives for Black History Month into the history of the society. So I must really thank the people I reached out to, then who responded with enthusiasm. In particular, Professor Wendy James and her husband, Deborah Johnson, whose generosity was unparalleled, and Professor William Bynard, who connected me to many of the key figures of the African Society and the African Studies Center, like Justin Gibbs, whose essay, Africans in Oxford, I've used for the posters. Both Professor Bernard and Professor James were senior members of the society, and so was Dr. Phyllis Ferguson, who is with us today.
Oh, Phyllis.
That's Professor Omotoso. I will mention that later. So, Dr. Phyllis joined us around December last year to start working on the anniversary project. She's always done for us more than we asked and more than we could ever ask. Continuing on the line of our senior members, we are grateful to Professor Wale Adebanwe and the administrators of African Studies, in particular Yulia Konstantinescu, for mediating with the college, with St. Andrew's College for us, and carrying out our open late request. We must also thank late Professor Raku Mustafa, who left us recently. He infused new energies into the society as a staff member in the 90s and helped it to become what it is today. I am grateful to the archivists and the development officers of the colleges who responded to our appeals, some going well beyond their duty to help us. A special note of gratitude goes to the Antenna Fund, which chose to sponsor our event when very little of it was yet visible. We appreciate your trust and hope it to satisfy today. We must also thank the college warden, Professor Goodman, for responding early to our request, and Ms. Bridget Surtees for patience in dealing with us. Another note of gratitude goes to the Ghana High Commission in London and Brazil for sponsoring Ambassador this year's visit. This confirms once again the central role of Ghana as a political laboratory for Africa and a main engine of Pan-Africanism. Our third major sponsor and close collaborator of the African Society is the Africa Oxford Initiative, who selflessly provided us with everything we're missing to complete this project. One final, I should also mention Sentence College, whose principal is Austin Professor Ambassador Lucia, and she will be here after the break. One final thank you goes to Dr. Luis Intenda, who is in Japan right now. He couldn't be here today, but has contributed majorly to this event with information, names, and photographs. Finally, we thank and once more we welcome all of you who responded to our invitations. Agreed with us by being here today that this occasion is worthy of the celebration. I must, however, single out a few of you. So, in particular, I think Injodi has already mentioned, we welcome Miss Pamela Roberts, who gave a lecture in the lifetime of Christian Cole, the first known black student to have graduated from Oxford. That lecture and the following conversation with Professor Wale Adebanwe further motivated us to continue our archive research. And on the other side of the publishing industry, we welcome Ms. Nana Ayibe Clark, an African publisher and a publisher of African books, whose contributions have been recognized with membership to the Order of the British Empire. We welcome all of our former members, and in particular, Mr. Kisanga Chekwe, President in 1978, and is currently in the city, but unfortunately I think is not with us today. Mr. Stephen Gawe, who was president in 1968. We will try to meet him later today. We also want to remember those who are not with us today. So I'm thinking in particular of Stefan Ashamankoy, who was president in 1965. He passed away very young in 1968, not before living an indelible mark in the people he met in Oxford and in Congo. His daughter Erika is here today. I am also thinking of Tajuddin Abdul Rahim, president in 1988 and between 1988 and 1999, which especially we want to remember today because both because a week ago was Africa Day, the day Africans have chosen for themselves to celebrate Pan Africanism and the African Union, and because in the same day, 9 years ago, he died in a car crash in Nairobi. So I'm sorry if I got you with my long list, but I think it was needed, and I hope I have not left anyone out. If I have, it's because of my forgetfulness, not because we didn't value your contributions. So if it seems that half of the room has contributed to this event in one way or the other, it's because that was the case, and I'm sure the other half will catch up before the afternoon ends. Now with two pieces of information for the end, for later in the afternoon. So we've been a bit confusing with the food arrangements. So there will be food, and it will be at Linapé College about at 7 p.m. It's starting, and we thank our social secretaries, in particular, Nada Kude, for organizing this in a really, with really short notice. And yeah, one other piece of information is because of visa issues, Professor Omotoso couldn't be physically with us today, but he's following on Skype. Maybe you can say hello.
Hello, celebrants.
Yeah. I think this is everything I needed to say, and I will pass on the microphone to our first speaker, Dr. Tunde Oseni. Who I can see. Okay, so Dr. Tunde is the head of the Department of International Relationships in Relations in the University of Ibadan, and is very generously offered to come, sponsored by the university, to our event today, and we will speak on Pan-Africanism in the age of globalization. So I should also mention that Professor Dr. Tunde Oseni was a student here in the MSc program 10 years ago. And so I really hope this feels like coming back home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure to be here today, to be invited by the Oxford African Society. And of course, I'm also glad that I'll be sharing this platform with some other highly recognized global scholars like Professor Wale Adebanwi, Professor Omotoso, Professor Abena Busia, Professor Patricia Dali, and Professor Simukai Chibudu. My intervention at this meeting is basically to look into two concepts, or rather two ideals, Pan-Africanism and globalization. You'll agree with me that Pan-Africanism as an ideal is more ideal than being real, whereas globalization is more real than being ideal. So I want to see how we can bridge the gap between these two ideals or ideas. So we can also describe Pan-Africanism as global African idea and globalization as liberal global idea. Rooted in the thoughts and actions of Pan-Africanists, such as Marcus Garvey, George Padmore, W. Du Bois, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Obafemi Awolowo, Thabo Mbeki, among others. Pan-Africanism hinges on the possibility of rediscovery of the African person as a complete human being who is capable of making scientific discovery, innovation, and contributing to human development. As a continent with a range of internal, structural, existential, and external dimensions, Africa could be assessed based on Pan-Africanism as an intellectual ideology within the framework of globalization. The thrust of my presentation today is to examine the idealist postulations of Pan-Africanism within the context of what the continent, I mean the African continent, can do and what it does contribute in the new age of globalization. And we should note that we have old Pan-Africanism, new Pan-Africanism, old globalization, new globalization. And of course, we can also talk about homeland Pan-Africanism and diaspora Pan-Africanism. This will be clear very soon. As a liberal idea, globalization assumes, and sometimes rightly so, that the countries and continents of the world can make equally beneficial and positive contributions to the growth, integration, and development of the world system. The gap between what is idealized for the global system, that is globalization, and what is idealized for a continent, Pan-Africanism, is more likely to be filled with extrapolations that take both historical and contemporary realities into consideration. The paper attempts to further dissect the progression and regression of Pan-Africanism as a continental idea. And I know Prof. Omotoso is going to be talking about the rise and the decline and rise of Pan-Africanism. I would rather also talk about the rise, decline, and rise of Pan-Africanism. Some questions need to be asked. What cultural values has Africa added to the globalizing world? What political formulas and models have or can Africa contribute to the global search for social justice and democratic values? If the West and the East were to deny the world in general, and Africa in particular, their technologies and epistemic values, what innovative and sustainable ideas would Pan-Africanism inject into African persons as inventors and problem solvers? To the extent that globalization is more real than ideal, and Pan-Africanism is more ideal than real, our intervention is a needful explanation of the African conditions in the imperative reconciliation of the two ideas. So in essence, what I want to say, or rather propose, is that there is a need to strike a balance between the global Africa idea, Pan-Africanism, and the liberal global idea, globalization. Maybe we can add something like sustainable global idea, which is going to promote a more inclusive integration, development, and prosperity, not only for Africa, but across the world. According to Tony Falola and Kwame Esse, Pan-Africanism broadly refers to the idea that people of African descent share similar histories and struggles, a common destiny, and processes for forming cross-cultural unity in areas of history, politics, and economics. No doubt, as Falola and Esse explicate, there's a need to rejuvenate the ideals of the York, Black internationalism. We can also talk about Black intellectualism. The very idea of diasporic intellectualization of the human being and the centrality of the liberation struggle against slavery, colonialism, segregation, and apartheid. My paper borrows from Falola and Esse's thesis, which calls for appropriation and performance of Pan-Africanism on continental, national, regional, local, and transatlantic levels. The Pan-African ideology, or what we can call the global Africa idea, shares epistemological semblance and, of course, substance with what Achimafeji calls Africanity, namely a sense of recognition of the Africanness of the African, the essence of being an African. As it is, Africanity has profound political, ideological, cosmological, and intellectual implications. It is within the context of Africanizing or Pan-Africanizing that we seek to make argument for the globalization of Pan-African thoughts and ideas, as well as Pan-Africanization of global ideas. Essentially, the objective of this contribution largely rests upon the assumption that Pan-Africanism needs to be retrieved for global relevance. We seek to interrogate the multidimensionality of Africanity, and much more importantly, the global Africa idea of development. To this end, we must distinguish between Pan-Africanism as an idea and Pan-Africanism as a movement, as well as succinctly put it, Pan-Africanism sees African people and those of African descent as searching for liberation, and as a result of common experiences, the quest for freedom, united against a common enemy. More important, as a unity, it worked together to bring about independence and human dignity. Pan-Africanism as an idea is a language of liberation. As a movement, it is the cultural and political attempt to take back humanhood, nationhood, and culture to rebuild and revitalize cultural identity in the New World and within Africa. On the other hand, globalization is both an idea and a process. It connotes the idea of a global village in which people of the world now live in a borderless entity as shaped by transnational activities of political, economic, social, and technological nature. And when we talk about integration, development, prosperity, whether from Pan-Africanist perspective or globalist perspective, we should also add epistemological context. And I'm going to talk briefly about that very soon. Nevertheless, the 21st century, or the new age of globalization, we contend needs to be explored much more innovatively by Africans, Africanists, and friends of Africa in accommodating Pan-Africanism as a way of globalizing it. In our thinking, that is my thinking, two key issues should inform such explorations of the potential partners. One, Africans must not obsess with the past. Challenges of the new age of globalization must be tackled with both local and global ideas. Two, Africans both at homeland and in diaspora must be ready to globalize the Pan-African and Pan-Africanize the global. For clarity, my first assumption does not negate or downplay the epochal nature of slavery, colonialism, imperialism, and apartheid, as the case may be. The point is more of the need to look into the future. That is called Afrofuturism. By concentrating on the realities of the present, that is Afro-reality. There's no doubt that the long-lasting effects of the trauma of the past still loom large on the political economy of Africa. Such historically entrenched limitations are better dealt with decisively, firstly internally, and whenever possible externally. Of course, Africa is not a country. There are different dimensions of development across the continent of Africa, but there are some things that we can borrow from countries like Singapore under Lee Kuan Yew. What did he do? He borrowed Western ideas, mixed up with his own local solutions, and was able to transform Singapore from a third country to a first world country. Similarly, the time is now for the globalization of diaspora Pan-Africanism, along with what we call the homeland Pan-Africanism. Development happens when those in charge understand and explore both internal and external solutions to problems. We contend that a cocktail of internally generated development ideas, what I call IGDIs, and externally received development ideas, ERDIs, is needed for Africa to leapfrog into the future. If these two premises are taken into context, our intervention will be made more meaningful, reconciling the two ideas. Pan-Africanism and globalization are two ideas. While Pan-Africanism is dwindling, regressing, receding, and needs a recalibration for developmental agenda for Africa, globalization is waxing stronger and getting much more promoted as the global idea. There, however, exists an intricate relationship between the two ideas, which is to say the least at times to be parasitic, because if the globe is developing and Africa is regressing, then it is parasitic. But if the globe is moving forward and Africa is moving forward, then it becomes symbiotic. Since Pan-Africanism seeks to liberate Africans and their diaspora counterparts across the world, and in the new age, develop them, any negative consequences of globalization will spell a doom for the global Africa idea. As Stiglitz 2002 coherently argued, failure of development in Africa was due to neoliberal economic policies foisted on Africa by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Neoliberalism is economic westernization, no doubt, and globalization. To this end, to reconcile the two ideas and ideals is to advocate that Pan-African ideology, or the global Africa idea, namely Pan-Africanism, must be equally globalized, must be mainstreamed, into what we know as economic globalization. At the epistemological level, it must be emphasized that Pan-African knowledge production be made global. While Pan-Africanism is often seen as a continental idea, actually it's an intercontinental idea. Because if you look at the African-American origin of Pan-Africanism, it is actually an intercontinental idea. It is not just for Africans and Africanists or friends of Africa, but also Africanists and Africanists in the rest of the world. In this sense, Pan-Africanist struggles of the last century, as well as the psychological confidence it built, can be a standing pillar and springboard for sustainable development in much of Africa. The crossbreed of indigenous African knowledge and relevant Western ideas could be promoted and domesticated for developmental purposes. And I'm going to pause here to say something about the epistemological contributions of two people, Ache Mapeje and Tony Parola. Mapeje talks about Africanity, the essence of being an African. And Parola talks about universality, talking about methodological multiplicity of knowledges, whether arts or sciences or anything in between. If we are trying to globalize, we must also try to globalize only inclusive globalization, particularly at the epistemological level. The epistemic values of these ideas must not be lost. In this regard, scholars in Africa should invest time and energy, of course, with their diasporic counterparts, supported with funding by government and organized private sector, in reaching out to their diaspora colleagues in formulating research and development ideas for government and people back at home. And of course, in producing ideas that can uplift the epistemic values of African origins. At the economic level, I'm following this Stiglitzan logic that externally imposed measures don't work, but rather hurt African economies. Pan-African approach must be devised to rescue the continent. Pan-African economic ideas could and should be infused into the mainstream development economies. In this regard, Tony Elumelu's concept of Africapitalism could be explored for the relevance of Pan-Africanism on a global scale. Specifically, Africapitalism is the economic philosophy that the African private sector has the power to transform the continent through long-term investments, creating both economic prosperity and social wealth. While such an Afrocentric entrepreneurship model might sound romantic and extremely optimistic, it indeed offers a fresh Pan-African outlook into the development of Africa. In the new age of globalization, I want to talk about new age of globalization. We're probably talking about 3 decades from now, particularly with internet revolution from ARPANET to internet. Economic liberation and development is as much as important as the mental political liberation of the past. At the geopolitical level, including social cohesion of the African people, African leaders and those in diaspora must work out autochthonous political models that can be sustained for development. It should not be a matter of binary choice between democracy and development, presidentialism and parliamentarism. There should be some ideas that of African origin, Pan-Africanist origin. It shouldn't be a binary choice between capitalism or socialism, Washington consensus or Beijing consensus. Authentic African ideas, which have worked in the past, could be resuscitated, fine-tuned, and recontextualized for developmental agenda across the continent. Furthermore, solidarity across the continent must explore globalist migration models rather than protectionist or restrictive approach of stringent visa regimes. The African Union must be more strengthened and proactive in tackling centrifugal tendencies that inhibit African unity. To be relevant at the global level, Africa must be united at home. Because when you say African Union modeled after European Union, of course, there are some issues with the Brexit and all that. But for the most part, if you're a member of African Union, citizen of European Union, you don't need visa, I think. But in Africa, it's not like that. Except for regional considerations like ECOWAS and SADC, among others. To be relevant at the global level, Africa must be united at home, and for unity to be extended abroad, the global Africa idea, namely Pan-Africanism, will have to be globalized. In this sense, African Union's new partnership for development in part will have to be resuscitated. At the cultural level, efforts must be made to globalize authentic and developmental values of African origins. And I was actually impressed by the Oxford African Choir because what they did was fantastic. They Pan-Africanized the global and globalized the Pan-African at the socio-cultural and religious level. African philosophies and cultural concepts, such as Ubuntu, for the Zulu, and Omoluabi Yoruba, for instance, should be globally popularized. It has been observed that much of the conflict ravaging Africa, from ethnic wars to terrorism, have been due to resource costs or some other opportunistic tendencies. But certain conflicts, such as land disputes, herdsmen crises, and electoral violence, can be prevented and managed with tested Pan-African cultural methods. I'm also impressed by what happened in Kenya just 2 days ago between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. That is the essence of Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because we have. Ubuntu and Omoluabi concepts, for instance, emphasize the communal nature of Africans and tend to make individuals think and act beyond material, personal, and instrumental gains, thereby reducing tendencies for conflictual dealings. If properly harnessed, such cultural elements can be the African contributions to the globalization of peace and conflict resolution, negotiations, conciliation, mediation. All these are already inherently, embedded in African culture. At all levels, Pan-Africanism must not be instrumentalized for otherization. She shouldn't be we are Africans, they are others. No, because in the age of globalization, you need others to exist. That is Ubuntu. Ubuntu does not just say that I'm Zulu, is Xhosa, we are together. No, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo, I'm Hausa, I'm Kikuyu. She is British, she is English. We all belong to the human race. That is what Ubuntu preaches. And if globalization is taken to that level, we have to also globalize the Pan-Africanist tendencies for such globalization efforts. Africa is a continent and not a country. It consists of diverse people with similar but distinct traits. Globalization of migration and highly paced communication technology of the extant century has equally widened the categories within which Africans in homeland and diaspora might be grouped. This further suggests that Pan-Africanism cannot go beyond its Afro-American roots to traverse into the rest of the world, including Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Nevertheless, an Afro-realist as opposed to Afro-pessimist approach to the capability of the stakeholders to enact Pan-Africanism or the global African idea to maximize development in the continent shows certain challenges. You have a lack of political will, technological backwardness, at least in comparative terms, perpetual asymmetrical global political economy, which leads to Africa. To counteract these challenges, a new life needs to be injected into Pan-Africanism, both as an idea and as a movement. The old Pan-Africanism was used to get liberation from colonialism and apartheid. The new Pan-Africanism must demand development against the odds of the new globalizations, including modern slavery, uneven wealth distributions, technological divide, and global geopolitical manipulation of the marginalized peoples of the world by countries that are powerful. Normatively, this will be largely done by Africa's youthful populations, more than 300 million, with their counterparts spread across the world. Technology will play a large role, and the growing social media network.
Where are the loudspeakers? Where are the loudspeakers?
It's already.
Huh? Yeah, but where can I hear it? You see, they said that there was some sound coming from here, so they wanted them muted.